And Benoit, say this one, I'll do like 3 of them.
What page is that?
9.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if you, yeah, so you're gonna do, yeah, you're not doing all of these.
Yeah, I'll just, or else, should I do like the first 2 and the last one?
Yeah,
Let's
sure.
say, Akiratam, okay,
Yeah, with the red, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do all the English either.
okay. And then here again, just El Melech Yashev, and I guess we'll like just silently daven, and I'll do the intro to Adonai Adonai. Ve'er Adonai Be'anan.
And I'll just say you'll be continuing on page 12 as we prepare for the 13 attributes.
Okay.
You'll pick up wherever you want.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you think I should do the Altazvena? Oh no, wait, that's silent. What am I?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a silent paragraph. I think we should be, because that's part of
Where are you?
after Shema Polena.
Yeah, that yeah, after we do renew our days, then we're gonna go into, we'll do this, I'm just gonna do this as a prelude to a Shamnu.
Oh, okay.
But
So
I
I shouldn't sing this.
I don't think we have,
No?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And Sarna also skip or English?
I don't think I had you doing that.
Yeah, I remember doing it last year.
Yeah,
Yeah, English. Okay.
yeah. And then we just go right into the
Mishana.
Mishana. Are you doing all the Misha'anas?
I was thinking of just doing a few of them. I think last year we did a few and then most in English.
Okay, okay. Oh, oh.
Okay.
We are about to begin the service of Selichot this evening. We are delighted that we are able to stream this so that you can hear not only the beautiful sounds of our cantor's voice, but the beautiful music that will accompany him. As a way of beginning the service, I want to begin with a story to set the mood for these prayers that we will now utter together as a community. There's a story about Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite. One day his older brother died, and a newspaper got the entry wrong and printed the obituary in Alfred's name instead. He opened the newspaper that morning and had the unusual experience of reading his obituary while he was still alive. Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday, it said. Alfred threw down the newspaper and decided that that's not how he wanted to be remembered. The fact that he had invented dynamite was not important, and he decided that he would take all of the funds that he had accumulated and turn those funds into a way to better this world and to bring people closer to peace. I first read the story about Alfred Nobel reading his own obituary while he was still alive in a book by a colleague of mine, Rabbi Alan Lu, Zichrono Livracha, in a book that he wrote on preparing for the days of awe that he entitled, "This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared." That's how Rabbi Lu wanted us to think about this time. He wanted us to acknowledge that time is passing, that our lives are passing, and that there's urgency to these days, an urgency to confront what is really true in our lives. We spend a good deal of our lives keeping what is most true hidden from others, and sometimes hidden from ourselves. That is why Sigmund Freud was one of the most important thinkers of the 20th century, because he taught us that the invisible is more important than the visible. And each year we come to this period on the Jewish calendar, as we approach the days of awe, they beckon and whisper that God knows what is hidden. After all, we say that you, God, are Chacham Charazim, you are the knower of all of our secrets. And so when we try to hide from ourselves, you, God, know what is true. And so we come to this night of Selichot, this time of standing before you with a sense of urgency in our hearts. Urgency because there has been so much that we have been through as the pandemic is not quite over. Urgency because we are weary from the uncertainty that still surrounds us. And yet we come to this Selichot night, ready to begin the work of confronting the truth of our lives and the healing that we all so desperately need. This upcoming Shabbat, we will read the words from Parashat Nitzavim, Atem Nitzavim Hayom Kulchem. Each and every one of us will be standing before you, O Holy One of Blessing. Each one of us with our struggles, each with our fears, each with our own hopes, each with our own desire to begin the process of tshuva, of turning and returning to the best of ourselves and returning to you, O God. Give us the strength to move forward with compassion for all that we have been through. Give us the strength to reach out to one another in love. Give us the courage to begin to forgive ourselves, because we say that you, O God, are a God of forgiveness. We now begin our Selichot service in the prayer booklet. We hope that those of you who are watching online have been able to download it from our website. We are beginning, the cantor begins, page 1, with Ashrei.
Ashrei Yoshevei Veitacha Odi Hallelujah Odi Hallelujah Selah אשריהם שככה לו, אשריהם לשנריו.
We continue with the words in English on page 1. Should we despair of our being unable to attain perfect purity? We should, if perfection were our goal. However, we are not obliged to be perfect once and for all, but only to rise again and again beyond the level of the self. Perfection is for God, and to make it a goal of humans is to call on humans to be divine. All we do is attempt to wring our hearts in contrition. Contrition begins with a feeling of shame at our being incapable of disentanglement from our preoccupation with the self. To be contrite at our failures is holier than to be complacent in perfection. The cantor continues now, if you're able to rise, with the Chatzi Kaddish, page 2.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה ביעלמה דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי המיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח איתו אב תרמה ותנשא ותהדר ותעלה ותהלל שמי דקודשה. בריחו לעילה לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו Amen.
We're going to continue with the psalm for this season of turning, Psalm 27, the words Achat Sha'alti. We ask this one thing of you, God. We ask to be able to experience your presence, to dwell in your home, and to behold your goodness. Page 2 of our prayer book.
Shalati med Adonai, o tavakush. Hakad shalati med Adonai, o tavakush. Shivati beveit Adonai, kol yemei chayai, lakazot benoam Adonai, ulevaker bechei challah. Lakazot benoam Adonai, ulevaker bechei challah.
This last year has taught us many things. Hopefully it's taught us to be able to appreciate blessings that we have, but it's also taught, I think, all of us what it means to be vulnerable. And so we acknowledge our vulnerability before you, O God, as we come to this season, and we acknowledge that you are the source of our help. Continuing now on page 3 of your prayer book, Esa Enai.
שיר למעלות, אשא עיניי להרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם השם, עושה שמיים וארץ, הייתן לעמוד רגליך, אל ינום שומרך. הנה לא ימום ולא יישן שומר ישראל, השם שומרך, השם צלקך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה, השם ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך, השם ישמור צדקה ובואך מעתה ויד עולם, מעתה ויד עולם.
We join together in the English on page 3, now is the time for turning. Now is the time for turning. The leaves are beginning to turn from green, or will soon begin to turn from green to red to orange. The birds will begin to turn and will head once more to the south. The animals will begin to turn to store food for the winter. For leaves, for birds, and for animals, turning comes instinctively. But for us, turning does not come so easily. It takes an act of will to make a turn. It means breaking with old habits. It means admitting that we have been wrong, and this is never easy. It means losing face. It means starting over again, and this is always painful. It means saying, I am sorry. It means recognizing we have the ability to change, and these things are terribly hard to do. But unless we turn, we will be trapped forever in yesterday's ways. God, help us to turn from callousness to sensitivity, from hostility to love, from pettiness to purpose, from envy to contentment, from carelessness to discipline, from fear to faith. Turn us around, O God, and bring us back toward you. Revive our lives as at the beginning, and turn us each towards each other. For God, we know, especially after this pandemic, in isolation, there is no life. Now we begin our acknowledgement of our wrongdoings, of things that we might have done differently, of where we have fallen short, and the cantor will lead us now on the bottom of page 4, Adon HaSlichot, a Sephardic melody in which we begin to acknowledge this process.
Adon HaSlichot, Bochei Levavot, Golei Amukot, Dover Tzedakot, Chatanu lefanecha, Rachem aleinu, Rachem aleinu, hadur baniflaot, vatik banechamot, zocher barit avot, choker kilayot, atano lefanecha, Rachem aleinu. רחם
Lord of forgiveness, you seek into hearts, you expose the depths, you speak the truth. We have sinned before you. We ask for your mercy should be upon us. We're going to turn ahead now to page 7 of our prayer book. We know that we say to God, both body and soul are gifts that you have given us. They are yours. All that we have, all that we are, is on loan from you, our God. Page 7, Haneshama Lach. The soul is yours, the body is your creation. O God, we ask that you have compassion upon us, upon what you have created. The cantor now will begin and continue the service, I should say, towards the bottom of page 7 as he leads us into the first of our hearing of the 13 attributes of God's mercy, those attributes of mercy that we rely upon as we acknowledge the truth of our lives.
תעבור על פשע ותמחה אשם, כי יום ויתייצב עמו שם. תאזין שבתנו ותקשיבנו מאמר, כי יום ויקרא בשם אדוני, ושם נאמר, ויעבור נא על פניו, ויקרא. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emed, Notzer Chesed El Alafim, Nose Avon V'Avasha V'Chata V'Naka. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, V'Rav Chesed V'Emed, Notzer Chesed El Alafim, Nose Avon V'Avasha V'Chata V'Naka. Salat alavonenu ulechatanu ulechatanu Silach lanu avinu ki chatanu Vichalanu malkeinu ki fashanu Ki ata Adonai tov v'salach V'rav chesed l'chol korecha.
We are now going to continue the service on page 9 of our prayer books. We ask God to hear our plea, to accept our prayers, if not for us, then for our ancestors. We continue now, Lishmoa al-Harina, page 9 of your prayer book.
במוצאי מנוחה, קדמנוחה תחילה. חד אוזנך, חד אוזנך ממרום יושב תהילה. לשמוע אל הרינה ואל התפילה. את ימינו זוררה לעשות חיל בצדק נקד ונשחט תמורו העיל גנונן גיזו בזעקם ביולעיל. לשמוע אל הרינה ואל התפילה. רצה יתירתם ביום דם בלילות שאינה ורצון כקורבן כליל ועולות, תרם ניסיך עושה גדולות. לשמוע אל הרינה ואל התפילה.
Consider our suffering, not our sins. Vindicate those who plead before you. You who perform wonders, hear us, heed our plea and accept our prayer. Once you received temple sacrifices, accept now our petitions for forgiveness. Accept the pleas we offer this night. Reveal the wonders of your deeds. We continue now on page 12 as we once again listen to the 13 attributes of God's mercy.
וירד אדוני בענן, ויתייצב עמו שם, ויקרא בשם אדוני, בו יעבור אדוני על פניו, ויקרא. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ערך נוצר חסד אלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקם. אדוני, אדוני, אל רחום וחנון, ארך כפיים ורב חסד ואמת, נוצר חסד אלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקם. וסלחת לעווננו ולחטאתנו ולחטאנו, סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו וקלענו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
We say to you, God, we want to be heard. We want to be known to you. We want to return to you. We ask you, God, to hear our voices. Accept us back to you. I'm going to open the Aron Kodesh as we now continue on page 13 with Shema Kolenu.
וקבל ברחמים, ברחמים וברצון את השיבנו אדוני אליך, השיבנו אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו, ימינו כקדם. וקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו. אל תשליכנו לעת זקנה, ככלות כוחנו, אל תעזבנו.
As the ark will now be closed, we'll invite you to remain standing as we prepare for our confessional. We turn to page 14, and I'll begin in the English. The cantor will then lead us following that. Our God, and God of our mothers and fathers, grant that our prayers may reach you. Do not be deaf to our pleas. For we are not so arrogant and stiff-necked as to say before you, our God and God of all ages, we are perfect and have not sinned. Rather do we confess, we have gone astray, we have sinned, we have transgressed.
אשמנו,
Bagadnu,
גזלנו, דיברנו דופי, הבינו, והרשענו, זדנו, חמסנו, טפלנו שקר, לה 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 יעצנו רע, כיזבנו, לצנו, מרדנו, ניאצנו, שררנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, קישינו עורף, לה 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 רשענו, שיחתנו, תיעבנו, טעינו, תיתנו.
Join with me in the English. We have trespassed, we have dealt treacherously, we have robbed, we have spoken slander, we have acted perversely, we have done wrong, we have acted presumptuously, we have done violence, we have practiced deceit, we have counseled evil, we have spoken falsehood, we have scoffed, we have revolted, we have blasphemed, we have rebelled, we have committed iniquity, we have transgressed, we have oppressed, we have been stiff-necked, we have acted wickedly, we have dealt corruptly, we have committed abomination, we have gone astray, we have led others astray. We have ignored your commandments, and we have not profited. You are just, and we have stumbled. You have acted faithfully, and we have been unrighteous. We now turn ahead to page 17 of the prayer book. We invite you to be seated. Again, we invoke our ancestors and say that just as God has answered our ancestors, so too will God answer our prayers.
מי שיען לשרה אימנו בזקנתה, הוא יעננו. מי שיען לאברהם אבינו בהר המוריה, עננו. מי שיען ליצחק בנו, כשנעקד על גבי המזבח, הוא יעננו. מי שיען לרבקה בהריונה, הוא יעננו. מי שיען ליעקב בבית-אל, הוא יעננו. מי שיען ללאה בעניה, הוא יעננו. מי מי שענה לרחל בעצבונה, הוא יעננו. מי שענה ליוסף בבית האסורים, הוא יעננו. מי שענה למיליידות על האבנאים, הוא יעננו. מי שענה ליוכבת על שפת היור, הוא יעננו. מי שענה לאבותינו על ים סוף, הוא יעננו. מי שענה למשה בחורב, הוא יעננו. מי שענה למרים בבירה, הוא יעננו. מי שענה לאהרון במחתה, הוא יעננו. מי שענה לפנחס בקומו מתוך העדה, הוא יעננו. מי שענה לבנות צלף חד בעמדן פתח אוכל מועד, הוא יעננו. מי שענה לכל הצדיקים והחסידים והתמימים והישרים, הוא יעננו.
We ask the one who answered Sarah past the time of her youth, Hu Ya'anenu. To Abraham on Mount Moriah, Hu Ya'anenu. To Isaac, their son, when bound on the altar, Hu Ya'anenu. To Rebekah, as her son struggled within her, Hu Ya'anenu. To Jacob at Beit El, Hu Ya'anenu. To Leah in her loneliness, Hu Ya'anenu. To Rachel, who is desperate for a child, Hu Ya'anenu. To Joseph, abandoned in the prison, Hu Ya'anenu. To the Hebrew midwives, as they stood at the birthing place, Hu Ya'anenu. To Yocheved, having faith in the bank of the Nile, Hu Ya'anenu. To the people Israel on the shore of the sea, Hu Ya'anenu. To Moshe Rabbeinu, standing at Sinai, Hu Ya'anenu. To Miriam with her well that brought water, Hu Ya'anenu. To Aharon, offering incense to God, Hu Ya'anenu. To Pinchas, seeking his place above the crowd, Hu Ya'anenu. To the daughters of Slochad, standing their ground, Hu Ya'anenu. And to all who are righteous, who are upright, who are compassionate and decent, we say, Hu Ya'anenu. We say, you, God, you will answer us. Our service continues as we call on God, Shomer Yisrael, the guardian of each and every one of us, page 18 of your prayer book.
Shomer Yisrael, Shemor Sherit Yisrael, Ve'al Yovad Yisrael, Haomrim Shema Yisrael, Shomer Goy Echad, Shemor Sherit Am Echad, Ve'al Yovad Goy Echad, Yachad im Shemecha, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shomer Goy Kadosh, Shmor Sheritam Kadosh, Ve'al Yovad Goy Kadosh, המשלשים בשלוש ושד לקדוש ומתרצה ברחמים ומתפייס בתחנונים יתרצה ויתפייס לדור העני כי אינו זר כי
We want to invite you, if you're able to rise, to do so as we get now to listen to the words of Avinu Malkeinu as we prepare for these upcoming days of awe. I'll once again open the Aron Kodesh as we listen to these words.
מלכנו שמע קולנו אבינו מלכנו חטאנו לפניך אבינו מלכנו חמול עלינו ויעלול עלינו ודפנו Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Kotevenu, Bessever Chaim Tovim, Avinu Malkeinu, Kadesh Aleinu, Kadesh Aleinu, Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu, Shema Koleinu.
We continue the service with Kaddish Shalem on page 20 of your prayer book.
יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה מעלמא דיברה ומכחירותי בחייכנו ויום אכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן ישמע רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שווה דקודשה פריחו לילה ולילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה גם מרנדיה למה ויאמרו אמן תתקבל צלותיכון ובתיכון בית ישראל קודם אבוהון דבישמעיה ויאמרו אמן יש למה מאמין שמעיה וחיים טובים על כל ישראל ויאמרו amen.
Now, sound the shofar, which we have been doing through this month of Elul, but as a way on this Selichot of showing God the earnestness of the prayers that we have been offering and the prayers that sometimes we offer that transcend words. We continue and conclude the service with the words of Yigdal on page 21.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא ואמת אל מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, לעולם וגם אין סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דימות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא נברוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון וראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר, גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו. לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומעיט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן ויעמול, על לביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ימיר דתו, לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ולא יודע סתרנו, ומעמיד לסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומל לאיש חסד כמפעלו, נותן לרשע רגישתו, ישלח לקץ ימים ויחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך הדיין שם תהילתו, מתים יחייל ברוב חסדו, ברוך הדיין שם תהילתו.
Before we conclude the the service with a closing prayer. We want to thank our musicians, Lauren Gildar and Jesse Reagan-Mann, for playing such beautiful, beautiful music tonight, and of course our Chazan, Cantor Jacob Agar, for leading us in these beautiful, beautiful words of tefillah on this Selichot night. I want to close with a poem by one of, I think people know, my favorite Jewish poets, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, otherwise blogging as the Velveteen Rabbi, as a way of closing our evening of Selichot. This is a poem she calls Anew. Here's the thing. The year begins anew, even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and then they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainty's a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is we're not in this alone. We'll help each other when light seems dim and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help heal and will help each other heal. In this new year, may we all know healing, may we all work to heal each other, and may we all know health and many blessings. And let us say, Amen. Shavua Tov to everyone.
Shavuot tov.
Shakach.
Shkoch.